Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as promised, we have a special podcast today. We have Brian from Sussex Squad Family TV. I know many of you are fans. Thank you so much, everyone, for going over and subscribing to him. Continue to subscribe, please. Let's support other squaddies. I think he just hit 16,000. So can we try and get him to 17,000 by the end, by the end of this podcast? There's almost 40,000 of you following me. So let's try and get some more love over on Brian's channel, please. And so how we're going to work things today is myself and Brian are going to have like a general chat. I want to get his thoughts on some things. And then we will I'll put the invite link in the chat if anybody wants to come up, and then we can have kind of like a round table. I've been wanting to get people from other platforms onto my podcast for such a long time. And, this is just such a big space, and we will all have our own unique ways of analyzing the royal news space. So without further ado, Brian, let me add you to the stage. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic. So happy to have you here. And of course, make sure to put your questions in the chat as well for Brian. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you so much to Kat Harlem. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. So we've got a whole list of things to talk about. I sent Brian a whole list of things that we were going to go through today. So go grab your coffee, water, tea, popcorn, whatever it is, moonshine. Church Nelly, I know you've got a big old bottle of moonshine because we've got a lot to talk about today. Oh, and FYI, I will be doing a podcast on yesterday and today's updates pretty much right after this. Depends on how long this goes on for, but I scheduled it for 9:30 UK time. So definitely check back later because I'll be doing another podcast. All right, Brian, let's
Yes.
start with I want to take things back a little bit. Your
Yeah.
thoughts and knowledge of the royal family and your viewpoints of them before Meghan came in. Like, what did you
Before
know of them before Meghan came in? What did you know of them? Were you, did you follow the Diana era? Her passing and all of that. What was your general take on the royal family before Meghan came into the royal family?
I did, of course, follow Diana. I was, of course,
Mm-hmm.
someone who had some kind of a little bit of interest in, of course, Diana, and also in the life of Prince Harry, mostly because he's the one who has charisma. He's the one who, of course, is mostly, charming, nice guy also, and that was where my interest actually, began. Mostly I wasn't paying too
Mm-hmm.
much attention to them, honestly, as I would say. I became interested mostly when I did see Prince Harry and Meghan were dating because I was someone who already was a fan of Suits. I was watching Suits.
Yeah.
So and then I was, when I saw Meghan, I was like, wow, she and Harry are dating. So then I became, interested in even more in what was going on. I became invested in what was happening, and then I saw Harry and Meghan, first of all, coming out together at the Beatles games for the first time when they when they
Mm-hmm.
began, dating, things were it was nice basically to see that moment of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you were
Yeah.
actually a Suits watcher before she got with
Before
Harry.
yeah, yes, exactly. I was watching Suits.
Oh, that was amazing. So when did you first find out that they were dating? Like, was it like in a tabloid or on the news or on social media?
On social media, actually, on social media. is where I found out that Harry and Meghan are dating, because I did see that video of Prince Harry at the Invictus Games coming down with Meghan. That's when
Mm,
I then began knowing that indeed these two are dating when they first came out together.
they're
That's when
dating.
I saw, yeah,
Amazing.
that's when
And
I saw
so, did you?
everything.
Nice. So, did you get into reporting on them straight away, or when did that start for you? When did you decide to formally enter the space and start reporting on the news?
When I saw the racism that Meghan was experiencing at the hands of the tabloids, online trolls, when they began dating, as Harry even said, within 8 days into the relationship, immediately Harry had to issue a statement condemning racism towards Meghan. So when that
Yes.
was happening, that when I found myself, commenting on YouTube videos. When I saw some trolls targeting Meghan, I
Mhm.
began commenting on Twitter, just calling out online trolls targeting Megan. And then I decided to open an account on Instagram to lend my support towards, Megan, after some time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And when was the I don't know, the moment where you kind of went, oh, something is really, really going on here? Like, I think for many people there was that infamous straight out of Compton headline. For me, the first time because I hadn't, to be honest, in the beginning of Harry and Meghan's relationship, I wasn't really following them. I didn't really start following them until maybe sometime after the wedding. But the first time I realized something was weird was when the BBC did that segment and it was like Meghan knifing Kate. And it was, just the whole reinforcing the idea of a black woman being very aggressive. So that was kind of like my moment when I went, oh, something is very, very wrong. So, like, what was that moment for you?
Exactly. I remember those videos that the BBC created, but also I would say that article straight out of Compton also.
Mm,
From that moment, that was the beginning of many many things. That was the beginning of the racist articles, targeting Meghan, targeting her mother, and then eventually you began seeing how Thomas Markle, what he was doing towards Meghan was awful, terrible, because Daily Mail began,
mm,
they sent
mm.
that person called Graham Caroline of the Daily Mail to go and gain access to him,
Yes.
and then they used that person to control Thomas Markle, paying him money, control him, and use him against his own
Mm,
daughter Megan. That was painful to see. Someone doing that to his own daughter was hurtful to see, and that's when even more I began supporting Megan even more. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And also, your thoughts on the let's go back to the royal wedding. Like, what was that day like for you? Where were you watching from?
I was in a bus. I remember I was in a bus. I was going home, and I was just from school, from the university, and I was watching on my phone.
Mm.
And there were people who are looking at me when I'm watching the royal wedding from my phone, and they were like, "Harry, Meghan, Harry, Meghan, Harry, Meghan." That is the moment that I remember, very very well of what I was doing at that moment. I was heading home, holding
Yeah,
my phone, and just watching, Harry and Meghan. Yeah, their
yeah,
wedding. That
yeah.
I remember that
And
moment very very well.
and you're from Kenya, yes?
Yes, I'm from Kenya, Nairobi.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, do you feel like was there like general excitement around the wedding? Like, are the is the royal family something that people are engaged in Kenya, or they just kind of background noise?
Kenya is a country that was colonized by Britain. It's part of
Yes.
the Commonwealth. So technically, yes, the wedding was shown, in our own TV stations, local media outlets. It was shown, so everybody practically watched it. Even in our country, most people
Mm,
were watching. I wouldn't say the people here are very, very much interested in the royal family. What I would say is that at that moment, people were intrigued about the royal wedding, and then they began, of
yes.
course, watching. It was shown in our local media stations. They showed it, and we all were able to see it. Yes.
Mm. Mm. And
Yes.
so we had the royal wedding. We had what looked like a fairy tale. We had what seemed like a moment of, breathing where the tabloids kind of, removed their foot off the pedal, you could say. And then
Mhm.
things after the wedding started to go downhill. The relentless bullying towards Meghan got worse.
Yes.
And as we now know, Meghan was really going through it even when she was with child. Now, did you ever envision that Harry and Meghan would formally step back? Is that something that you thought would happen? Did it come as quite a shock to you?
I never really thought that that would happen. I wouldn't say I thought that that would happen, but I could see the angle of the bullying of Meghan by the UK media. I could see what they're after. I could see and read exactly what they were going for, and it was clear to me that what they were going for is that they were going to destroy Meghan. That's what has been their aim to achieve against
Mm,
Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. They want to destroy her completely, and they do want to destroy, of course, her marriage to Prince Harry, which is what UK media
mhm,
have been trying to achieve for so long, and they're still trying to achieve it. They haven't stopped trying. So I never
mhm,
thought that they would leave the UK, but I could see that the angle of the abuse was meant to make Meghan leave, just as Harry even said,
mm,
in his interview with Stephen Colbert a couple of months or years ago, when promoting Spare, what Harry said, it was clear that
mhm.
indeed the abuse was meant to make Meghan leave. It is still meant to make Meghan leave because they haven't stopped abusing her. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And there's been this rather nasty narrative that's gone on for years of, oh, Harry coming back,
yeah.
and always emitting Meghan and the children from that conversation as if this father would
Mm,
abandon his family. And then, because so they step back, and then we come forward to the first bombshell moment after that, the trailer for the Oprah interview. Now, I
mm,
remember I was still in the UK at the time. This is before I went traveling.
mm,
And I think it was maybe like 2, 3 in the morning UK time, and my squaddy senses were tingling. I also have a little bit of
mm,
insomnia. So when I got
mm.
up, I go to my phone and there's the trailer. I'm like, oh my God. So how
Mm.
did you react to that? Like, what was your first reaction when you saw that?
My first reaction, I wouldn't say I was honestly surprised because eventually, Harry and Meghan are going to have to speak up. Because even I
Yeah.
always say that the UK media, what they're doing to Harry and Meghan is that they're provoking them. Every single time that they go after them, their kids, it's an act of provocation. I wasn't surprised that Harry and Meghan would share their story, but
Mm,
when I saw the royal family, issuing that bullying complaint targeting Meghan, which was full of lies, obviously, targeting Meghan,
mm,
saying that she's a
mm,
bully, yes, she's the one who's bullied every single day, you know, that move just showed you
mhm.
how scared and terrified they were of the Oprah interview, when it was happening. But really,
Yeah.
every single day, UK media, whenever they lie about Meghan, when they smear her name, target her, her kids, her husband, mostly her and the kids, it's an act of provocation. They want her to talk. They want her to talk. They can say they don't want her
Yeah.
to talk, but they want it to happen. They want it. Yeah.
Oh, indeed. I mean, I remember, was it the
Mm.
Times or the Telegraph? They had this ridiculous headline, and it was all these pictures of Meghan, and it was like, "Oh, where's Meghan?" And when she
Yeah.
disappeared to, just to live her life. And then
Yes.
also recently there was a headline saying Meghan should do more solo outings. And I wasn't actually
Yeah.
surprised to see that, because when Meghan came out for the Paris week fashion show for Balenciaga, that's probably
Mm.
the most money that they have made all year. And it's actually
Exactly.
quite extraordinary. And with, even other media commentators have spoken about this, that it is a
Mm.
machine. It is literally a machine. And unfortunately, the most profitable part
Mm.
of that machine runs on hate and
Hey,
the
true.
attacks towards Harry
Mm.
and Meghan. And you're
Yes.
right. Not I think not only are they trying to provoke them,
Mm.
even things like, yesterday somebody said in the podcast, oh, well, why don't Harry and Meghan sue more? Why don't they sue more? Because the suing, even if it's
Is
warranted,
what they
then
want.
creates a
Mm.
story. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. They want another story, they want another
Yes.
drama, they want a
Yes.
situation where Harry or Meghan have to come to the UK and, have to go through the courts and just all of this
Mm.
nonsense. And I don't think it's fair for Harry and Meghan to have to go through that. And even if sometimes it is rather annoying just having all these lies made up about them all of the time, I do think they have to pick their battles. And I think so far, they've picked their battles quite wisely. Um,
I do agree with you,
on
Anne. I fully,
Sorry,
fully
go
agree
ahead.
with I fully agree with what you just said, because
Mm,
you see what I've seen from the UK media. I've seen them how they are targeting Meghan in particular, and they can't attack Harry as they do Meghan. They can't do that.
mm,
Their target is Meghan in this case. Even for the royal family, William said he was surprised that Harry left. Why was he surprised that Harry left? He was surprised
mm,
because the abuse was meant to make only Meghan leave. It was never meant to make Harry leave. That's why
yeah,
he was surprised that
yeah,
Harry left. In Spare, Harry tells us all of that about what happened between him and Charles and Prince William. He tells us that William acted surprised that he was leaving, the royal family. And
mm,
it's all because, they only hoped that Meghan is the one who would give up and say, I've had enough of the abuse. I'm sorry, Harry, I love you,
mm,
but it's over. That's the point that they're
yeah,
trying to get Meghan to. And it is so sad to have seen what I've been seeing all of these years with how the media have been targeting the Duchess of Sussex. And even her kids also have not been spared. Because
mm,
as you said
yeah,
yourself in that top, that those headlines whereby they keep on saying Harry can come back, there's no mention of the kids or of Meghan. I remember the words of royal expert Christopher Wilson, who said that at the beginning it was hoped that Harry would come back home alone,
mm-hmm,
without
mm-hmm,
Meghan, without Archie, without Lily Bedana. Even now, that remains the goal. They haven't
mm,
stopped trying to achieve that. And I think it's so cruel for one to want to separate a husband from his wife and kids. It's
mm,
extremely, something so cruel, but not surprising, because what's common between Meghan, Archie, Lily Bedana? They're mixed race. They can
yeah,
tell you it has nothing to do with racism, but when you want a husband and a father to abandon even his kids, you can even see exactly what it's all about. It's about racism. I keep on
mm,
seeing, for example, different people in the UK media, like Kevin O'Sullivan and the others saying Harry will be back here in the UK, and he'll be back here alone. Meghan will be in America with the kids. So you can see that all they keep on
mm,
wanting time and time again is to see, aspiration between Harry from his own family, from his wife and kids. And you know what happens?
yeah,
God forbid if that happens, the Spare will be destroyed, because you can't,
yes.
the goal here is to destroy the Spare. But how do
Yeah,
you destroy the Spare?
exactly.
You
They
destroy
don't.
him.
They don't want him back for good. Into at this point, I think maybe there was a time
Exactly.
when they thought if Harry comes back, they can use him and his popularity for the good of the firm. But at this point, I think if Harry was to go back, they want him to go back to destroy him. There's going to
Exactly.
be no olive branches, no happy family, no nothing. I think at this point they truly do just see Harry as a threat, whereas before it was, you know um well, if he comes back, maybe we could try to figure something out.
Mm. All Spares, Anne, have been destroyed. From Margaret
Mm,
to Prince Andrew, Harry has not been destroyed. You can only destroy the Spare if you separate him from his wife and kids. That's the entire motive of
yeah,
they are trying to achieve. And thankfully,
Yeah.
they haven't been able to achieve it. But you can see, yes, they do want to destroy Meghan, but also the target also. I always say that Meghan is the primary target and Harry is the secondary target,
Yeah.
target number two, because you want to destroy him by, first of all, destroying his marriage, which is what they've been trying to achieve for so long. But for as long as Harry and Meghan are together, which I'm hoping is forever, they can't be destroyed. They cannot be destroyed. And I keep on remembering the article by Royal Suter, by R.S. Locke
Mm.
Royal Suter, who said that when Harry and Meghan got married, Meghan ascended to the top of the pyramid, and
Yes, I
she's the
remember
woman of
that
color.
article.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that very, very well. That's a very, very good piece that explains everything. And in the end, they said that, you know, how do you destroy even, like despair? How do you destroy him? You can only do that. You can only reclassify, for example, Megan. You can only reclassify her
Mm.
from the class system if you separate her from her husband. That's the only way, which is what
Mm.
they've been able to achieve. But thankfully, they have not been able to achieve that. Thankfully, they have not been able to achieve that. And we keep on praying every single day that they never ever achieve, that at all,
Mm.
because they keep on pushing every single day nonstop. It's not easy to be Harry and Meghan. It's not easy to be Harry and Meghan, because what they go through every single day is not easy to take,
And
and
I I just wanted to say that I think one of the things that really annoys the firm and annoys the other members of the royal family is the fact that, you know, Ha- Harry may be a prince, but there was only so much or so far he would have been able to go outside of the firm on his own. um Meghan was part of the Hollywood celebrity crowd. So her star was amplified by marrying a prince, but
yes,
Harry's network was expanded by marrying Meghan, and an actress, a humanitarian. So separately, they both had their own strengths that when you then put them together, you have
exactly.
this a power couple. I think it would have been very difficult. Not that Harry didn't have his own friends or his own network or anything like
Mm,
that, but would we have seen perhaps the empathy and the space made for him by people like Tyler Perry, Oprah, Beyonce, people who have come to Harry and Meghan's aid, I think partly because Meghan is half black. So I
exactly.
think that's also another thing that irritates them, is the fact that Harry found refuge, I think, with people of color who saw what was going on and extended a hand, which is so ironic for so many obvious reasons, where Harry found his safety net. But I think they still haven't realized is the fact that Harry has more to lose going back
Yes,
to the royal family than he does now staying with Meghan, because between the two of them, her
mm,
star power, her earning power, Meghan only has to drop a clothing line. We're
exactly.
halfway to billionaire status. So
By
your
God's
thoughts
grace, yeah.
on yeah, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, whenever American wears anything, it obviously, sells out. That is what everything's called, the Megan effect. Whenever she wears anything, it sells out. So yes, I do believe that she's on her way to billionaire status. And that's why you can see how UK media are so terrified. They're so terrified about that
Mm,
prospect, because they know that for as long as Harry and Meghan continue to be financially independent, it means, number one, you can't control both Harry and Meghan. You can never do that, because money is more like a tool or a weapon that the royal family uses to control those who are lower in the line of
yeah.
succession. And
Yes.
if Meghan becomes a billionaire, and that means that Harry, Archie, Lilibet also basically are also extremely even wealthy. It means they can never be controlled at all. That is something which
Yes.
terrifies, every single person in the farm. William, in particular, he's terrified of that prospect. That's
Yeah.
why You keep on seeing how, UK media keep on targeting each and every single commercial venture Meghan partakes in. That's why even a simple dinner Meghan has with Emma Grade,
Yeah.
they feel so threatened. They even complain about a dinner, a simple dinner. They even complain about a
Mm.
dinner whereby women are coming together to
Yes.
support each other. They're complaining about that. So it's because they feel threatened and they know that the person who can achieve all that is Meghan in particular. She's the one who can achieve all that. And they feel threatened by her. That's why there's so many negative headlines, time and time again, targeting each and every single commercial venture that Harry and Meghan partake in. Because financial independence, as Meghan even said in the Fortune Most Powerful Women event,
Yes. Yes.
Meghan said it means, independence, it means autonomy. When Wikimedia hears all that stuff, they feel even more terrified because they also want to be able to control them, to control both Harry and
Yes.
Meghan. But you can't control them
Yeah.
if they keep on earning their own living, paying their own bills, making their own money. They can't be controlled. Yeah.
Mm, And that I think that definitely eats up both the firm and the tabloids, because for so long, even if we go back to the Diana years, they've
Mm,
just been so much in control, and they're behaving like a narcissist who's going through a narcissistic collapse. If anybody's ever had to deal with a narcissist, when they can't control you, they try to control how others see you. Now they're struggling
exactly.
to control how others see Harry and Meghan, and they're just having a complete and utter breakdown. And I wanted to touch, following on that, on William, because William is behaving the way he's behaving now while
Mm,
Charles is still alive.
mm,
Goodness knows what's coming next, but I believe that, Harry and Meghan are covered by the Holy One, and that in the end, William is really just going to destroy himself, because Harry and Meghan are financially independent. They're in a completely different country, but
mm,
William still seems absolutely obsessed with his brother and his sister-in-law. And the thing is, we're hearing all this stuff about titles. I do think that William will actually be stupid enough to try and remove Harry and Meghan's titles somehow. Now, of course, that requires an act of parliament, and how he would go about that's a whole other debate. But do believe that he's so vindictive, he'd be stupid enough to try. And I just don't understand. Maybe you could help me articulate this. Maybe William is just so blind with rage, why William just cannot back away. You're going to get the crown, you're going
mm.
to be king, and yet you are still so horribly obsessed with your brother and sister-in-law. It's not enough for him to have the crown now. He still seems to want, a certain level of popularity, but that would have only come if he'd, done the work the last, what,
Mm,
how old is William now? In
mm,
his 40s? He's had all of these years to be a man
mm,
of the people, to be a man of impact, and he hasn't done it. And so now it's like he's on this power trip. This rage that he has to destroy his brother and his sister-in-law, and
mm.
I just don't know what that's going to look like when Charles is gone.
What happened is that when King Charles revealed that he had cancer allegedly, is that
Mm,
when he did that, he gave up his power. He gave up his power. And that's why we are
yeah.
seeing how Tom Sykes, for example, is someone who's close to Prince William and gets briefs from him. He's saying that Prince William has basically taken over. He's now someone
Mm,
who has gained even more and more power. Courtiers listen to him. For example, even that issue on security having to do with Prince Harry. Harry said that there are people in the royal family in the palace who are trying to sabotage his and Charles' reconciliation. Who are those
mm,
people? People like King Charles' private secretary, Sir Clive Alderton. He's one person who's
yeah.
doing everything in his power. But why is he someone who is somehow sabotaging this reconciliation? He can only do
Mm,
so if he has the blessings of someone like Prince William. He can only do so if he has his
yeah.
blessing. And because Charles, as I've said, gave up his power, some of his power when he announced that he had cancer, and now basically every single thing, is moving in William's direction because he's the next king.
Mm,
And William is someone who I have seen with my own two eyes, basically, with how he behaves, his actions. He's someone who is very, very petty and full of envy towards Prince Harry and Meghan. Mostly Prince Harry. Mostly Prince Harry. And look at him, for example, he's the heir to the throne. All the other heirs have destroyed their spares. You know,
Mm.
Charles, Andrew's destroyed. The Queen
Mm-hmm.
destroyed Margaret. Now you're having
Mm.
Harry. He isn't destroyed yet, based on what William wants to achieve with him, and he keeps on going
Mm.
after Meghan in particular to get to Prince Harry, to hurt him in a way, to destroy him. That's why he's only left with threatening, taking away titles from Archie, from Lilibet, from Prince Harry, even from Meghan. That's what he's left with, doing, because he's someone who is very, very, how can I put this, vindictive in a way. He feels
Yeah.
scorned that Harry left him. He feels like Harry abandoned him. Because when Harry was in the royal family, he's the one who did all the work. William would
Yes.
swoop in and take all the credit, for Harry's work. And William believes that somehow he has been wronged by Harry leaving. So you see, that's basically a problem. Instead of protecting Prince Harry, that way he never ever even has to leave. William went after his wife, believing that Harry would just leave
Mm.
his wife and follow him around, be his full time scapegoat. It goes back to how it was before, with Harry being the third wheel following William and Kate around. That is extremely, extremely wrong for even a brother to do to his own brother,
Mm.
like what William is doing to Prince Harry. Yeah. And to
And
also add on that, I recall the words of Robert Jobson. He said that Prince William is someone who is controlling. He says a controlling,
yeah.
nature. He's someone who
Mm.
demands deference from those who are lower in the line of succession, but looking up, he rarely gives it. To Charles, that is,
Yeah.
even to Charles himself. That's why we had those articles from Daily Mail saying that, Camilla, said that the boy, William, has got a temper. He would shout and Charles would meekly submit to him. So
Mm.
I feel that that remains in place even to this day, even right now as we speak, whereby even Charles himself is more or less even terrified of William's temper. I feel like that's where we
Yes.
still are even right now. Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, I don't think it's for nothing that Harry included that little story of William throwing him onto the floor and him hurting his back on a dog bowl. I don't believe that that's the first time that William has raised his hand at anyone in the family, male or female, probably both. And so I think that there's a lot that the royals are covering, that the tabloids are covering about William, and we keep getting drip, 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 little clues, whether it's Harry talking about his, violence, people like Rob Jobson, as you just mentioned, talking about his temper. Many of the royal reporters have talked about his temper, whether it's him swaying like a flag at events, like he's drunk or something.
Exactly.
And if that's how he is now, when he's not even king, what more when he has the pressures of, you know, everybody looking at him as king? I think that there's a, I wonder if there's a part of William that craves the power of that crown, but at the same time now also resents it, because I think that perhaps part of the I don't know, there's like a phrase for this, when you wanted something, then the person that you're jealous of now has something better. He looks at his
Mm.
brother and he can see that his brother has freedom, has love, is building his own platform, his own life. So in the context of that, what does the crown even mean anymore?
Mm.
And I think there's I don't maybe you can help me out. Isn't there like a phrase for that?
I don't know what to say about that. Don't know what to say about that. What I can simply say is that from what I've seen is that there was these videos whereby when William was a child, whereby he would not be interested in
No, yeah.
something, for example, a bunny, And then when
Oh
he sees Harry
yes.
is interested and wants it, he also wants the same thing. So it's like William is someone who only cares about something if he sees that it's what Harry wants. He
Harry
becomes
wants.
interested in that
Yes,
thing.
yes,
Yeah. That's what I've
yes.
seen from Prince William. Even in the video that I've seen of him, childhood to adulthood, whenever you can see that maybe he's not interested in something. But then when he sees that Harry wants something or someone, he
Hmm.
becomes interested. For example, I remember that moment whereby the Spencers came to the chapel to support Prince Harry after King Charles and William never attended the 10th anniversary service of the Meters Games. The
Mm.
articles that came after that was that Diana's side of the family supporting Prince Harry. Those were good for Prince Harry. Those are good headlines for Prince Harry. Now, right after that, what happened is that Prince William was seen with Diana's sister. Right after it, immediately,
Ah,
and then they were like, William is being supported by Diana's sister. So it's
siblings.
like
Yeah,
whenever he sees that Harry has something, that's when he becomes
yeah,
interested. When he doesn't see that Harry, has something that of course is interested in, he doesn't really care unless Harry cares about something. That's
yeah.
how Prince William basically is. That's how he operates. That's how he behaves. He covets everything Harry has. Everything Harry has, he covets for himself,
Yes,
and that's a problem.
yes, coveting. Coveting. That's the word that
Coveting.
I was looking for.
Yes,
Yes.
he covets everything that Harry, has, and he wants it for himself. That's just how he is. And on his temper, he's someone who even pointed his finger, at Meghan. So he has a big temper. Now, if he does that to Meghan and Prince Harry, just imagine what he does to his own wife. I mean,
Yeah,
Kate disappeared for almost a year.
yeah.
So I don't even buy that it had to do with cancer allegedly. I still don't buy it. But
Mm,
I believe it was something else. I believe it had to do with
yes,
issues between her and Prince William, and
yes,
that's what I believe. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, well, we might as well just get on to that then. Yeah, because nobody gets rushed to the hospital for cancer. You get rushed to the hospital for something else, and we've still never really come to understand, what happened that evening when there was a supposed motorcade that got rushed to the hospital. And then there was all the weird things that happened when, Kate and Charles were supposedly in that hospital. And one of the things that I will never forget from that period is the fact that I think Camilla went to the hospital like 3 times,
yeah.
came out the front door.
Mm.
We only saw William go once, and it was for like
One.
15 minutes, and we never saw Kate leave. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
almost felt as if like Camilla was like playing games, like almost to try and say,
Mm.
"Oh, is Kate even here?"
It's even here. Yeah,
Um, and
exactly.
and then there was all the weird the Frankenstein photo, the
Mm.
the the photo or the video at the farm, that even TMZ later rubbished. And it's like all these things
Yeah.
happen and there was never any explanation for it.
Exactly, exactly. They never explained what was going on because I feel like they were covering up between what's going on between William and Kay Moulton. That's what they were trying to cover up, whatever is going on between, both of them. And the media, tabloids, they know what's happening, they know what's going on. Even this issue on William and Kay Moulton going to live at Forest Lawn, they're like sixth or seventh home. This issue on them, I feel like it's more like, when Diana and Charles got divorced, she was given a place at Kingston Palace to stay in. And I feel like these two, William and Kim, in my opinion, that I'm giving, my personal opinion, is that these two are living extremely separate lives. And tabloids are fully aware of this. And they're trying to cover up for them. And that Kim was given a big place to stay in. That she wanted a big place to stay in, and that's what she's been given. I feel like that's what's going on, and that's what they're covering up. And Kate is more like a prisoner. Is more like a prisoner who is told what to do by Prince William. Whereby, for example, if during, for example, going to Wimbledon, for example, Kate has to do something to get that. just to give the royal family something that they want for her to get, to go to Wimbledon, for example. I feel like that is, what
Mm,
is
mm,
happening and going on, behind the scenes, these negotiations between, Kate and William, because all isn't well between them both. That's what I personally feel, you know? Yeah.
mm. Do you um do you believe that they will divorce, or do you think that they'll be like the late Queen and Philip? Do you think they'll just live separate lives, or do you think
They'll be
it's all
more.
just going to get way too much and they'll end up divorcing?
No, no, no. I don't believe Hamilton that it's in her best interest to divorce William. That is not in her best interest. Because if you divorce Prince William, it means that UK media can do whatever it is that they want to do to you. Just imagine tabloids going after Kate Moulton. Them being told Kate is now fair game. You can do or say about her whatever it is that you want to say about her. So I don't believe that Kate and William will ever divorce, because number one, it is not in Kate's best interest. When Kate disappeared for months, I could see, other things. For example, I could see pictures of Rose Hanbury, everywhere. I could see her everywhere. I could see her with Camilla. I could see her son, close to, Camilla. I could see her son close to Camilla and Charles, that is. I could see Rose Hanbury's son that is close to Charles. And I was seeing that a lot until I stopped seeing it. Because those articles about Rose Hanbury, Prince William, they disappeared online. And
Mm,
and they began disappearing online. They were removed. So that showed me that something must have happened to ensure that Kim Moulton remains, more or less in her place,
mm. Stays
to
in
stay
line.
married to Prince
Yeah.
William, because it's good for her to be married to Prince William. Even if maybe there are issues, it's good for her to be married to Prince William. It means at least tabloid media will not come after you. But without him, it's fair game on her. And I don't believe for a second Kate can even survive or handle a fraction of what Meghan has had to go through all these
Megan,
years. She
yeah.
can't. It's not possible. It's not possible. So it'll be like Philip and the Queen, but they will
Mm,
definitely, not be divorcing. That's not gonna happen. Kate herself should never ever allow it. You can say that maybe William can say, okay, I want this, but Kate Moulton will definitely will
mm.
say no, 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 no to that completely. She will never ever agree to be separated from Prince William. She'll never agree to that at all.
It's quite interesting. At the last Ascot, Kate suddenly pulled out, but her mum was there and
Hmm.
looking rather cozy and smiley with William. And so I also do wonder, what conversations have happened with the Middletons, because the Middletons had an agenda to get into the upper crust for some time, and
Hmm.
they played their game so well that they got
Yeah.
close to the crown. So they also have benefited greatly. And then there's also the issue of Kate's family's finances and how they have been able to finance their extravagant lifestyles for so long. I don't believe for a second that their party pieces company is what has, you know, kept them afloat. I think they're definitely getting money from the royal fold. Um, we'll be careful about what we say about other avenues of where they're possibly getting their money from. But there's definitely, I think, there's something amiss with the Middletons. I also feel.
Because the Daily Mail reported that creditors were, of course, demanding their money from the Miltons because after their
Yes.
party piece of business went bust. So who could have the kind of money to save the Middletons? The only people who have the kind
Mm,
of money are, of course, William. Charles has that money. William also has that money. So that's why I've said that it's in Kate's best interest to remain married to Prince William. She knows that very, very well. And they can't divorce, and indeed they cannot separate. I don't see that. I don't see that they can separate. In private, but not publicly. You
mm,
know. And there are even times whereby tabloids were writing articles about Kim Moulton not wearing her engagement ring anymore. So
mm,
that to me said so much that they are trying to cover up, something, because they do know what's going on, they do know what's happening,
Yeah,
but they
they
keep on
do.
covering, but they keep on covering for them, and that's also wrong, because if you are in the media, to be able to report truthfully, fairly,
Mhm.
accurately, and not cover up for the royal family like what most of the tabloids, do time and time again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I actually wanted to circle back around to something that you said about William coveting what Harry has. And one of the things that Harry has is some amazing charities, one of which has been completely destroyed, and that's Centre Barley. What do you make about the whole situation with Centre Barley? And do you believe that someone or some people at the palace could potentially be involved in that? Or do you
The
believe
moment
this is just Sophie Chanduka and her own greed?
I don't believe just of Chadauka. Even if someone has done something, I don't believe that anyone can have the guts to steal something from a prince. I don't think
Mhm.
you can just be that bold. When I saw Sir Ian Rawlinson, who worked for Prince William, with sitting right next to
Yes.
Chadauka at the Sky News
Yes.
interview, and then even I saw Sophie asking him, to say something, I could see already that this person
Mhm.
was there for one thing here. Number one, to back up Chandauka, to defend her, to say
Yeah.
what someone else who's more powerful wants to be said at that interview, to ensure that Prince Harry, looks bad. And the only thing that I can say mostly about that is that Chandauka must have some kind of backing from someone more powerful.
Yeah.
Because even in that report that came up with the Strategy Commission, we never heard of anything having to do with the money she paid to consultants. Why do we never hear about
Yes.
that investigation? Why? And
There
then you
was
find
so
out
much
that
missed out, actually.
exactly. That's why even Harry himself said that it didn't carry enough information. And then Chandauka has been allowed to continue, staying there, Center Pale, and
Mhm.
she's ruining everything. She's destroying a charity that Harry, built himself. And then you find out that people who are close to Camilla Parker Bowles, are in charity
Yeah.
commission, are running the place. So you can even see that already, indeed, that there are forces that are trying to ensure that Prince Harry loses things which, of course, he loves. And we've already had ourselves that right after they took out in the ballet, they said that the Invictus Games is next.
Mhm.
Tabloids have said that they want to go for the Invictus Games. They want to target that. It's one of Harry's
Mm.
biggest achievements, and they want to target that and take it away from Prince Harry. That has concerned me, greatly, and I've spoken about those concerns even in my channel. They're not even hiding it. They're saying that
Yeah.
that's what they're going for. That's what they're going for after taking away Santa Bali charity from Prince Harry. And when you see Sir Ian Rawlinson, I feel like you see the face of the man that he has worked for, that he has been an AD for. And who has he worked for? He's worked for Prince William.
Prince
He's
William.
someone who has worked with
Yeah.
Prince William. And
Yeah.
you can see that closeness exposes the person who's behind everything that is happening as in the valley, because he can't stand seeing. Harry has a legacy already that he has built. William is someone who hasn't achieved as much as Prince Harry has. So what is he
Mhm.
trying to do? He wants to ruin what Harry has been able to
Yes.
achieve. That's what I felt like William wants to do to Prince Harry, because he himself, when it comes to achievements, I mean, who has achieved more, Harry, William? Everybody knows it's Prince Harry. So what does
Mhm.
William, what is he left to do? The spare isn't allowed to outshine the heir to the throne, as even read from spare. That's not supposed to happen. Even multiple, royal experts have said the same thing. The spare is not supposed to outshine the heir, but that is what has
Mhm.
happened. And
Yes.
no wonder you're seeing them try to take away Harry's achievements to make William look better, to make
Mhm.
what William has achieved or done with his short, stuff, to make it look like he's doing something, important. But they're trying to do so by undermining Harry's achievements.
Harry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And, you know, do you think that there is, I mean, I'm sure that Harry would be able to restart Centre Ballet or do something, similar at some point when all this is blown over. But do you think in the interim there is a chance that he may have to take Sophie Chanduka to court? Do you think he would do that? I mean, I'm sure that he wants to fight for his charity, but knowing that there could be other, Harry would take that move or just decide, you know what, I'm gonna let this go, or this is gonna have to be one battle I just don't fight, which is very unfortunate for the children. But if we know that the dark forces might have something to do with that,
Hmm.
do you think we'll end up having a court case?
I can't say if you're going to really have a court case. That I cannot say. What I can say is that what Prince Harry, said. He said that they're going to find ways to keep on supporting, kids in Botswana and Lesotho living with HIV and AIDS. That's what
Mm,
they say. They're going to find their own ways to keep on supporting them, however
mm,
possible way that they can. Because I feel like with Sophie Chandauka, Sitabale is already broken. It's already destroyed. She can't raise money for
mm,
Sitabale. When you see her
mm,
going to act asking for donations, we never saw those things in the past, but we're seeing
yeah,
them right now. When Harry was
now.
there, the money was available, but Chanauka used that money to pay her consultants, her friends, people who we've seen that have been her employees. People who've seen that
Mhm,
have been her employees working for her at other companies like Nandi Life Sciences and the others. So already that's suspicious, and that honestly, it raises a lot of red flags. To see her get
mm,
away from to getting away with what she has done
yeah,
has been painful for Prince Harry, for Prince Eiso, even those in the Bali. I'm sure it's painful, but
mm,
I don't see Harry going to court. I just don't see it.
okay,
I feel like he'll find other ways. I feel like he'll find other ways to deal with this issue. Because I feel like for Sendauka, I've seen that other companies have lost
bust as
money.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've lost money. So with her, I feel like what she wants, I feel like in my heart is a payout. I'm not sure, but I feel
right.
like that's what she really, really craves, and
Interesting.
it's what she's looking for, and that's why she's basically, how can I put this? She's holding the ballet hostage to achieve what she
Right.
wants to achieve. Because you kept on
Mm,
hearing that she wanted to be paid, $300,000, and it's a voluntary position. So it's clear what she wants. She wants money. So I feel like that's what she's doing. She's holding the ballet
right.
hostage.
Hostage, right. No, I'm really glad you've said that, because to be honest,
Mm,
I was just going round and round and round in circles. Like, aside
mm,
from, the end game being to destroy Harry's charity, I was like, what does she actually want? And I think you've kind of helped
mm,
me articulate it there, because if they
mm,
did pay her, she would
mm.
probably just go away.
Yeah,
um
yeah, yeah.
and but then I'm also wondering if in the end this will also backfire on her, because you're right, there are other organizations that she's worked with where there's
Mm,
been some funny money going on, and we've seen time and time and time again. I'm probably going to do a
mm,
whole series on this at some point, on people who went after Harry and Meghan and got their karma. So I
mm,
think it's very hurtful for Harry and his charity, but I do believe that this will eventually backfire, not just on Sophie Chanduka, but also everybody involved with her. Because other than Ian Rowlinson, I think there's two other people who are
mm,
still sitting on the board and refusing
mm.
to to
But
step down.
you know,
I'm sure they want
others
money
have stepped
too.
down. Others have stepped down, but you've seen that whenever another person steps down to put in someone else, but the main person there, it's Ian Rollinson. That's the main
Mm,
guy. He's the one who will never ever leave. He can only leave
mm,
if William tells him to leave. That's what I believe when it comes to him. With him, he can only leave only if he's told by William to leave. That's the only way.
Mm,
And it is really, really sad to see what has happened.
mm,
It's hard, it's heartbreaking
indeed.
because like they don't even care about the kids in Botswana and Lesotho who depend on the money Harry raises every single year. Was in the valley. It's been painful to watch, but it is
Mm,
clear that tabloids, the farm will go after everything and everyone Harry cares about, just to get have their way. You know? Yeah.
mm. I mean, it's interesting. The last financial report that Sophie Chanduka put out was
Mm,
absolutely laughable. Um, but they were still riding off the coattails of the last set of donations, especially, Harry's major donation from Spare.
mm,
So if we're
mm,
still in the same spot that we are now next year, the
mm.
next financial report is actually just going to make her look horrific. And I'm
Oh,
wondering actually if the reason they're not paying her out and they're just letting all of this play out is so we can get
mm,
to that point where she is
mm,
utterly embarrassed. Because up until now, they've still been able to ride on the coattails of whatever money was left, but all of that money is gonna dwindle within the next year. She's not getting any more donations. So I think maybe with this one, we might have to wait another year until she is fully exposed. And I do hope that Harry and Meghan are putting, contingency plans in place now for their other ventures,
exactly.
especially with Invictus Games. I mean, I'm quite scared of the fact that now it is going to be in Birmingham. Why was
UK.
Birmingham even? I know that there are many people who sit on the board of Invictus, but why was it even an option considering Harry's security situation? Granted, Harry doesn't have to physically be at Invictus for Invictus to happen, but he is the founder, so it's nicer if he is there. Do you think that Harry will come for Invictus given the security issues? And I know that you wanted to, talk about that, so that would be a good segue into that.
I believe Harry will be there. He has never missed. The question is, will his wife and kids be there with him? Because it's
Okay,
clear
then
from his security
yes,
case
yeah.
that Prince Harry does want for his family to be there. That's why he's fighting for security. That's why he wants security so much, because he wants Meghan to be there. He wants, I believe, for his kids also to come over during that time to the UK with him as a family. I feel like that's what Harry, wants. But for as long as he won't get security, then I believe that the only person who will be there, obviously, will be Prince Harry. I
Be
don't think Meghan
Harry,
will go there.
yeah.
Nor do I think even his kids also will be there, especially without security. That's not going
Mm,
to happen. That's not going to happen. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, and I think I mean, I was actually planning on going to Invictus Birmingham and being on the ground because it's only what like 2-hour
You
coach
know,
ride for me, so it's not a
you
whole
know,
lot for me to go there.
we can't say what will happen in 2 years. Much can happen within this time. We
Yeah.
don't know what will happen, next year or the year after that, January 27. Who knows what will happen? Maybe Harry will get security that he wants. Who knows what will happen? What I can simply say is that there are people who really, really are invested in ensuring that Prince Harry doesn't get what he wants, doesn't get security, for example.
Mm,
Because, why did even Harry lose security in the first place? They did that to scare him, to terrify him,
yes.
to ensure that
Yes.
he never even considers leaving, the royal
Yeah.
family by taking away security. But when they saw that, of course, he was going to go anyway, they took it, away from him, and then said, "Oh, you know what? It's because you have stepped back as a senior member of the royal family that you don't need security anymore." Even though he
Mm,
does need it because of the smear campaign that is ongoing, targeting him, his wife, and his kids, he does need security. And also, he's the king's son. He's the son of the head of state. Only in the UK is where you're saying that the son of the head of state is told you don't need security, which is troubling. It is very troubling and very, very disappointing. And the people with the power to
mm,
give security are, of course, Charles in particular, as the king, he has the power to do so. He doesn't clearly want to. And Prince William also has that power, but they don't want to give it to him. And they can tell you it has nothing to do with the royal family, but Charles is the head of state. If he wants security for his son to have security, he will have it. Even in America, he
Indeed.
will have it, but he just doesn't want to, and it's something that I believe both he and William have somehow agreed on. And it's really, really so sad. It's so sad, really. It's so sad. Yeah.
Do do you think that if they granted Harry, Meghan, and the kids security, do you feel that they'll be safe? Because I personally do. At this point, I don't trust any of these people. I don't trust anybody in the establishment. I don't trust the Met Police. I don't trust the MI5,
Mm,
the MI6, whatever. They've just
mm,
proven themselves to be so vindictive that even if in name and on
mm,
paper they agreed for
mm,
security, I think Harry would be a roundabout safe, but he would still have to watch his back. I don't feel that if they extended security to Meghan and the kids, I don't feel they'll be safe.
I keep thinking about what happened to Diana.
Mm,
We were told that she died because she refused security. Prince Harry is someone who I've seen is not taking any chances, and I fully, fully agree with him that even if they keep on saying no to you, it has to be on record. You did everything in your power to get security. You
mm,
never ever said no to security. You never ever turned it down. So in that respect, I feel like Harry is doing the right thing. Do I trust the
yeah,
police? Do I trust Met Police? I wouldn't say you should trust them, but you still need them anyway. You still need them
yeah,
anyway, because it will be their job, their responsibility to take care of you, protect you, to ensure that you are safe. It's better having them than not having them at all. And as Harry even said, you need access to intelligence reports that security
yeah,
don't get. So Harry has seen what's behind the curtain. He's the one who obviously even knows more about this issue. But one thing is for sure, it is good that Harry has it on record that he's doing everything in his
yes,
power to get security. That's very, very important. We don't want to be told, like what happened to Diana, that she said no security. We don't want that. We don't want that.
mm,
It's very, very important to have it on record. He did want security. That's what he wanted.
yes.
And the ones who are denying it are clearly members of the royal family. Charles and William are the ones who are keeping it from him. Yeah.
Indeed. And, also he just put in a fresh plea to the head of the Home Office. Now, I haven't heard any update on that, if the Home Office
Mm,
has responded at all, but he
mm,
has put in a fresh plea. And I think you're right. If anything, just for the record, so
mm,
that, history can't be rewritten, I think it's
mm.
great that Harry is doing absolutely everything that he possibly can, especially, now that we're hearing all of this about a supposed stalker. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't think that this would be the only, person who's been on Harry and Meghan's tail. I mean, there's certain things that I've come across in this space.
Mm.
Certain people who like I call them super derangers
Exactly. Exactly.
whose names I don't even say, accounts I don't even talk about because I just don't want the attack. And I'm not even talking about the I would say the mainstream derangers like Taz or anything like that. I'm talking about people I've seen do things so crazy I don't even talk about it on this space. So
Mm,
I'm just like we we've seen the level of crazy that Harry and Meghan have to deal with, and then there's also things that we haven't seen. And so whenever I think about
mm,
the fact that they're not being protected in the way that they should
mm,
be and they would not receive the protection in the UK,
mm,
it just absolutely
mm,
terrifies me because the
mm,
firm knows the danger that they are in and that they
mm,
have been in, and they're just
mm,
happy to just let them be at risk. That's just, it's wild to me. And then to also come to understand that there was talks within the palace walls that it wouldn't be a big deal if something happened to Harry and Meghan. Like what?
It'd be very, very sad to hear that. But it's not surprising, really. It's not surprising. When people got away with what happened to Diana, whereby clearly no one was really even jailed or put in jail for what happened to her. There are people who feel like they are untouchable. And mostly in the UK media, you've seen how, they feel like they are untouchable. When Harry sues the tabloid media, for example, sues the Mirror tabloid, what happens? Piers Morgan comes out and says, Harry wants to destroy the royal family. Harry isn't suing the
Mm.
royal family, he's suing the Mirror. But it's like they are both attached.
Yeah.
They are both attached,
Yeah.
whereby it's like if we go down, we'll take you down with us. That's
Down
what
with us.
Piers Morgan is saying to the royal family. If Harry takes us
Mm.
down, we'll take you down with us.
Mm.
That's why when Harry sues, the Mirror, Piers Morgan says he's destroying the royal family, even though Harry isn't suing the royal family, he's suing the Mirror because they
Yes,
have they
exactly.
have so much that on the royal family that they can use to sink them because they know the tabloids, they know too much and they cover for the royal family, but they can also use that to destroy them if they wanted,
Mm.
if they did want. Yeah. So you can say that you don't trust the security offered by the royal family. I wouldn't say also that you trust them, but it's good to have them around you, even if you don't trust
Mhm.
them. That way, you can at least ensure that they are responsible for your safety, even if they don't have good plans
Yeah.
for you. But it's good to have them. It's just good to have them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good point that you brought up about the royals and the press and people like Piers Morgan, because they are just, intertwined together. It's just like this group of spiders that have this giant dark web between them.
Yeah.
And I think you're right in what you're saying. I think that the press feels as though, if we're not getting what we want, and if we go down, you're gonna have to go down with us. And I think that at a certain point, I think that the two entities between the tabloids and the royals might actually just destroy each other, because we've also got going for, I mean, we had everything that we had with Murdoch, and then
Mm,
Murdoch had to issue an apology and the payout and everything. And now we've got, Daily Mail court case also coming not too far away, January and February. But it seems like the tug of war between the royals and the tabloids and this so-called invisible contract is just getting more and more and more hostile. I think the tabloids are very frustrated with the royals because they're not making as much money as they used to. They're pretty much, I believe that they're pretty much just going to stop touring, doing all the tours that they used to do. So that was a something that royal reporters loved, because it gave them the prestige and access, all of the privileges
mm,
that being a royal reporter and the tabloids you used to get in the days gone by with the royals. That's all basically slowly going away now, all of the glitz and the glamour. And I think the
mm,
tabloids are panicking, but there's nothing that the
mm,
royals can really do,
mm.
because people just aren't as interested as they used to be. And if they are interested, it's mostly in Harry and Meghan.
Yes, yes. Because William is someone who, for example, tabloids thought that he would step up after Harry and Meghan left. He never did. He has gone on
Yeah.
vacations. He's more lazy than ever. They even talk of him being a work from home royal. So there are those kinds of headlines you're seeing from Tom Sykes saying that he wants to be a work from home, royal. He doesn't want to. He wants to be a work from home royal.
Yeah.
So you
But you
see
can't you
that
can't be a work from home royal, because it's like the Queen said, you had to be seen to be believed.
William has a different kind of idea of how to be a royal, of what kind of royal he wants to be. And it's one whereby he doesn't want to work at all, clearly. And that's why you keep on seeing how UK media are desperate for Harry to come to the UK. They want him back so badly because they want him to cover up for William's inadequacies, for how William has been
Mm,
inadequate. They want Harry back to the UK as to cover up for Prince William's inadequacies, to go back to being the third wheel following, William and Kate behind. When if Harry's in the UK, the smear campaign, even though it's meant to destroy him, the main target I've always said is of course Meghan. If Harry's in the
mm,
UK with Meghan and Archie and Lilibet Diana, then the threats drastically increase. So yes,
mm.
you can say that in the UK it isn't safe for them, at all. As Harry even said, it's not safe for Meghan, Archie, Lily Diana. They're all, mixed race. that they are Harry's family, and you've seen the racing that they've gone through at the hands of the tabloids, and it's more unsafe, obviously, if Harry is with Meghan there, if he's there with his kids because of the hate campaign and the smear campaign. But
Mm.
but as I've said also, you do need security. You do need it. There's no other option. You need security, especially if you're Megan, Archie, Lily Bedana. You need it because of the threats that both all of them are faced. In the UK, in the UK.
Do Do you think that Meghan will come for Charles's funeral or for William's coronation?
Coronation, no. But I do
Mm,
believe, but I do believe in terms of the funeral. Why wouldn't she? But I don't. But also, I can't really say honestly, because I do believe if
yeah.
Harry, as a husband, asks his wife, "Can you please come with me? I need your support." I'm sure Megan will say, "I'll come with you." But would she want to obviously come to the UK after what she's gone through? I mean, who can blame her if she says
Yeah.
no? But I do believe if Harry asks her to, I'm sure Megan will come.
Mm,
That I believe. If Harry asks her to come over, she'll come. But obviously, she will need security. Security will be necessary, regardless of whatever happens. Security is a necessity. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of security, I actually think that Charles's funeral would be the absolutely safest time for her to come, just because you'd have so many other officials within the country. It would be very embarrassing for anything to
Mm,
happen to
mm,
Harry's wife. So I actually think that would probably be the last time it could be the safest for Meghan
yeah,
to ever
exactly.
come here. It would just be the absolute haranguing from the
Mm,
tabloids, that the same nonsense that we saw when it was, the Queen's passing as well.
mm. Yes, exactly.
Mm.
I don't,
Um,
when the Queen passed away, the kind of abuse that we saw Meghan experiencing was horrible at the hands of the
mm,
tabloid media. But it even was worse, after she passed away, and you can see even ever since then, you haven't seen Meghan, in any kind of plans to be in the UK after what she went through there. So you can see the effect
mm,
that it had on her. It must have been painful to go through that, and no wonder you haven't seen her back in the UK. So I feel
mm,
like Megan will always protect her peace and also her mental health.
mm.
And that's the right thing to do. Protect your peace and mental health, and never allow
Yourself,
anybody
yeah.
to come and destroy the peace that you have created for yourself. Because I do know for a fact tabloids do want to destroy the peace that Meghan and Harry have created for themselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. And also, William will be king at some point. Now, the problem William has is that the UK is going through some major social, political, economic shifts. People are struggling. There is a lot of division in the country. People feel as though they are working themselves to death and not getting anything in return. We have issues with housing and all of these things. And I'm just wondering, I feel like William is going to become king at a time where there is a lot of animosity between the family members. Um, B, social media has changed the game entirely, and so there's an element to which they're no longer in control of the narrative. And then C, when people are going to be looking at the royals, but also looking at their own situation and going, how can we have this institution? And this is a conversation that really started to fire off when Trump came over for the state visit, and you had this gold gilded, banquet hall and all of this. So William is coming into his kingship at a time when I think people have a very different view of the royals because of their own situation. And so, do you think that William will be wise enough to say, have a much smaller coronation? The other royals, for example, I can't remember which one it is. Maybe the Danish or the Norwegian royals. They don't even have like a proper full-on coronation. They literally just have like it's like a town hall kind of ceremony. So do you think
Mm.
that William will have the sense to do that, or do you think he'll actually go for a full-on coronation, knowing that he's coming into his kingship at a time when the UK is going through a hell of a lot?
William will have a very, very expensive coronation. I don't think that that will even change. I mean, just look at, for example, how the UK media, how they project times like that. Basically, they say to the public, in on TV, in the headlines, this is about our tradition. This is who we are. And then you have
Mm,
an expensive coronation. The royal family has one of the best PR systems in the world, basically. What they have created with the royal rota,
mm.
it's one of the biggest PR systems I've ever seen, really. More like a North Korea or something, that type of PR system. But they have been able
Yeah.
to use it for their own ends, target who they don't like, to target who they want, to make the public believe that these things are good for them, even though they are not. So I don't think that will even honestly change. I don't think William will say, let's have a small coronation. I don't think that that's ever going to happen. He'll have a big one. That's what, of course, he
Mm,
would want, like what also others have had. He'll want the same thing, or even way bigger than what Charles had. That's just how I can see things play out. But I don't believe he's someone who's going to change, because even he makes more than 20 million pounds a year from the Duchy of Cornwall.
mm.
And have you seen him wanting to do good things with that money? Or of course not. He's someone who, from what I've seen, I can see greed in him. I can see greed in
Yeah.
him. Look at even how the UK media, how they cover his campaign to end homelessness.
Yeah.
William is building a rental property, but you can see the PR that's in play. They're saying that he wants to end homelessness. Those houses will be paid for, using monthly or yearly. They'll have to be paid for. That way, it can increase the income from the Duchy of Cornwall. So when if I'm someone who's interested in building property, rental property, and I want to go and build a home so I can make monthly revenue from it, you can't say I'm ending homelessness. I'm doing business. But
Yes.
but in the royal family, they're saying he's ending homelessness. That's the PR team of the royal family saying he's ending homelessness. But that's not
Yeah.
what he's doing really. Is he giving those houses for free of charge? He's not doing that free of charge. It's not free of charge. People
Yeah.
will pay for it. So but the PR team of the royal family have said he's fighting to end homelessness. So the royal family have a good PR team that lie to the public time and time again. Even look at the case of Prince Andrew, what's happening with him right now. They're saying that
Yeah.
that Andrew has given up his titles. He's not given up anything. But those are the
Yeah.
headlines. Andrew has given up, his titles. That's not what has happened. He has simply said he won't use them. That's it.
Yeah.
But they're acting as if he has given up something so big, something so huge. That's the power of the PR team of the royal family. That's how
Yeah.
that's the power that they have. So they have a huge PR team, and they're going to use it to accomplish their own goals, to make it people believe that this is good for them, even though it is really not. Coronation also, they'll have an expensive one, then say, this is about our traditions. This is who we are. That's the kind of PR that they normally use.
Mhm.
And I don't see that changing at all.
And also on the topic of Andrew, now we're getting all of this spin that it
Exactly.
was William who
Mm,
was the one who, instigated all of this. And it's like William's trying to take credit for it all. And it's just like, well, where was all of, and not that it even means anything anyway, but where was all of this, years ago? I mean, this Andrew Epstein thing, it is such old news at this point. And why has there been nothing done to hold this man accountable? If anything, he's been protected at almost every corner. I'm going to cover this in my next podcast, but there are now people calling, MPs calling for investigation into exactly where that 12 million for Andrew, where it came from.
mm. But the thing is, nothing will ever happen. Nothing is going to
Mm.
happen because Andrew will be protected. He is being protected even right now as we speak. They can say that they're punishing him. William wants to look as if he's the one who's being farmed. And that's why we're even hearing him saying, you know what, when he's done with Prince Andrew, he'll go for Prince Harry, for Meghan, for Archie, for Lily Bedana, and take away their titles. William wants to present himself as someone who, of course, is all about, punishment, punishing these people. He's going to deal with all of them. And what I can see, someone said that William has this fetish to humiliate people. That's how
Mm.
he is. That's how he is. That's what he wants to do, basically. And he wants to make it look like as if he's the one who's involved in all of this, decisions. He wants to be part of, everything that is being said. And what I can say is that with Prince Andrew, he's someone who already was protected. He's protected, and they want all this stuff is being announced because of a book by from
Virginia
Virginia who suddenly passed
Giuffre,
away.
yeah.
That's why they're doing like damage control. They call this called damage control. They're trying to make the public believe, what action has already been taken on Prince Andrew. He's had enough. This is already too much. That's what they are doing to the public. They are brainwashing them. That's why all the headlines are leading with Andrew has been stripped of his titles, even though that is not what has happened.
Mm.
He's still the Prince Andrew. He's still the Duke of York, but he just simply won't be able to, call himself that. But he's still that. It doesn't that hasn't
Yeah.
changed. So you can see, as I've said, and the royal family have a big PR system there that is more like one that they have in North Korea. So you can't.
Mhm.
It's too powerful. It's too powerful. It's a powerful machine that they have built to protect themselves from scrutiny, from being held accountable for things. And that's why you can mean they cover up a lot for Andrew, for Prince William. They cover up a lot for all of them. When it comes to Harry and Meghan, they don't have that on them, and that's good for Harry and Meghan. But these other ones, they have so much that on them, on Charles, on William, on Camilla, on Kate Middleton. There's too much info on them. They have too much. They always know a lot.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm. I mean,
yeah,
I think you're right there. So okay, I mean, I said when this whole Prince Andrew thing dropped that it was just gonna be yet another big old fat nothing burger. And I think for people that don't pay close enough attention to what happens with the roles, I think a lot of them have kind of, fallen for the okey doke. I'm even seeing people who I thought were, very um very media savvy who I follow regurgitating what the media are saying about him losing his titles, when that's, like
exactly.
we said, that's definitely not the case. He's just not going to use them formally. But even then, even if he was to lose the titles, even if they were to go through the whole process of removing the titles through parliament, what does that even mean if this man is not behind jail bars? To me, it means absolutely nothing.
Exactly. I fully agree with what you just said. Yeah, and that's why you say that there's no real accountability. There's not really accountability that you're seeing here. No one is being held accountable for anything, and they just want you to believe he's being punished, even though he is not. And today, I just saw even a video from a role expert for Daily Mail called A.N. Wilson, who said that the royal family are afraid of what Prince Andrew can say because he knows too
Mm.
much. And that they're afraid of him talking and saying things like what Harry and Meghan have said. Because with Andrew, they said it'll be worse. According to A.N. Wilson, who works for the Mail, he said that Andrew
Mm.
knows too much, too much. He can destroy them completely. And it's all about protecting the reputation of the royal family. That's what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah,
Because if Andrew gets desperate and has nowhere to go, no form of income, I do believe that, at that point he's got nothing to lose. And also I think that with Andrew, he's never had any checks and balances in his life. I'm pretty sure he was the so-called Queen's, favorite child. And so we even saw with Sarah Ferguson for some time after she left the royals, she was doing interviews, doing all these things. It's now come out, I've just seen in a headline today that let's have a look. They said that Epstein supposedly from. And the problem with some of these people like Fergie and Andrew is we like to think because of the institutions that they're in, maybe they would have advisors, maybe they would, the average person walking the streets knows to have an ISA and a savings account. But these people surrounded by all these privileges, even with money, when they have it, when they have access to it, that they just spend it, the money just goes. They want to
Mm.
live these extravagant lifestyles, and they're very undisciplined with their money. And I think they have this delusion that because of their status, money will just come from somewhere, and they'll try to weaponize their status. But I think it's getting to desperate days now. Epstein is gone. The Epsteins of the world are under a little bit more of a microscope than what they used to be. And so if they were to throw Andrew out of the castle completely,
Mm.
where would he get his income from? Where would Sarah Ferguson get her income from? I think they might get desperate. And I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think the danger, that Andrew could actually be more of a danger.
Exactly, because he knows too much. As A.N. Wilson said, he said that Andrew could even say worse things than what Harry and Meghan have said, according to him, basically, because he knows too much. And if they back him into a corner, and he needs to earn an income, he needs to get some money, and says he wants to write a book, it'll be bad for Charles, for
Mm,
William, for Camilla, for the entire royal family, and that's what they're trying to avoid so much. They want to be able to avoid that, because even they've said that Andrew can keep his home, Royal Lodge. They can keep he can
yeah.
keep it, because they're afraid. They are fearful of what even he can say, because he can sink them if he's backed into a corner too much. Yeah.
Mm.
And what's happening to him right
Well,
now?
sorry, go on.
What's happening to Prince Andrew right now? It is not punishment. He's not being punished. This is not even punishment, really, what's happening. He hasn't even been punished. It's just
Mm.
someone telling you, hey, you can't call yourself Brian anymore. Call yourself something else. That's it. That's it. That's it. Someone saying that you can't call yourself Anne anymore. Call yourself something else. So basically, that's what has happened, really. But they want to make it look like they've done something so huge, something so big. The PR system of the royal family is very, very powerful. That's why even people you think that
Yeah,
are reputable media outlets are going with that lie, that
yeah,
headline, or Andrew has been stripped of his titles, even though that hasn't happened. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that is all of the craziness, foolery, buffoonery of the other royals. On a more positive note, let's end on a positive note. There are
Yes.
some incredible things happening for Harry and Meghan. They're just getting on with their lives, building their brand, building Archwell. They've got so many things going on at the time that I even forget about some things or lose track of things. So, going forward, what would you like to see? I mean, they're already doing so many amazing things, but what would you like to see? What are your hopes for Harry and Meghan going forward?
I've seen Megan going to Paris Fashion Week, and I was like, Megan, can you get maybe a brand deal, or be able to start your own fashion line? Because I don't know that whatever you wear, it sells out. It's completely, sells out. Whatever Megan wears, it completely sells out. So for me, I have always believed that the path to Megan becoming a billionaire is, from as ever, from maybe even a fashion brand, because of whatever she wears sells out. And I feel like that's the
Mm,
path that could lead her to that. So I'm hoping that, I can be able to, see Megan doing that, because I do know that it's going to to help her out, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And that's what I want to see, from Megan, but mostly just seeing them happy. That to me, seeing them,
Yeah.
at Kelly's friends, event, those pictures of Harry and Meghan being so happy, that already makes me really, really happy. Seeing them living their lives, seeing them joyful, seeing them supporting their friends, already that makes me so happy.
Mm.
Just knowing that they are even away from the UK, thriving in America, in Montecito, in a wonderful community, doing so much good work there. That to me already
Yeah.
makes me so very happy. And as Megan said herself, she said that she has everything that she needs. Her husband, her kids, she has everything that she needs, and that is special, and that is wonderful, and that is beautiful. Having that wonderful
Mm.
family, that's what matters. And may I hope that they keep on protecting that what they have, and never allow anybody to destroy what they've built. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
100%. Right, let's go to some of your comments. Thank you everyone who's been, commenting in the chat. We appreciate you so much. I want to say thank you to Kat Harlem, Elaine Parker, to Kevin Sims, for your super chats. Very much appreciate it. Camso, you said William is in the wrong era. Social media has scuffled him. Yeah, I think social media has created a lot of problems. I mean, we all remember, I'm sure you remember this, Brian, William, the sexiest bold man alive, the way that went so
That was so wrong. It was so wrong. It was so wrong. As I told you, they have a powerful PR team, very, very powerful one. They can make you believe things which don't even exist, which aren't even real. So very, very good at
Oh
that.
god.
You
Oh
know?
god. But yeah, and then it to be fair, with that particular headline, that actually wasn't the royal family. We managed to actually trace it back to
Uh,
a hair loss firm in Turkey that had
uh,
hired a PR team to put that story out, and then when you went to the articles, they were all backlinking to that firm. But it just really it embarrassed William. I don't know what they were thinking with that one.
you know,
Um,
I saw a post from the Rock saying that what happened to the other to the other guys who are bald, and I started
yeah,
laughing. Yeah, I
yeah. I
started
mean,
laughing.
is Stanley Tucci still okay? Because he's alive, and I think he's a pretty good looking bold man.
Exactly.
Um, That was hilarious. Okay, Wendy, you said William will not have a traditional coronation in fear the crowds will be small. Not my king will be there to boo the global media covering. No one shows up for him now. This is actually a very good point. I mean, there was actually one headline I saw. I don't know if this was a briefing of William supposedly wanting a smaller coronation. And I think the point you've made, Wendy, if he does have a smaller coronation, I don't think it's because he's going to try to be mindful. I think it's because of this. You are right. The crowds are dwindling, and or the crowds of royalists are dwindling, and the crowds of protesters are getting more visible. And we saw this at trooping. You saw when you saw the pictures come out, all the pictures that I was seeing was of, the Republic with the yellow signs and not my king. And that was the first time I think it was really in their faces. Kate and the kids had to go past in those carriages and see all of that. So I think if we do have a smaller coronation, it will be because of that, not because he's trying to be sensible, because they're not my king folk. They have kept to their promise. Wherever Charles has gone, they have wanted to go and follow. Sorry, Brian, were you going to say something?
Actually, when they just said that there'll be, my king chants and there'll be booze, remember that during Charles' coronation, there are people who are jailed. People like Graham Smith, the CEO of Republic, he was put in
Yeah.
jail for some time, and then he was released because they didn't want to be embarrassed. So
Mm,
in terms of trying to cover that up, the royal family always do a lot to try and cover that up from them being embarrassed. That's just how they
mm,
normally are. And instead that they have to jail people who simply, say not my king. It is very, very sad and just wrong.
mm.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had any sense, if I was sitting in Charles and Williams's shoes right now, I
Mm,
would cut a deal with the government.
mm,
I'm allowed to get this amount of money, this amount of property, this amount of land, and then
mm,
just stop the sovereign grant completely.
mm,
Agree to do agree to take less money.
mm,
Um, and then I think people wouldn't be so bothered, because I think what's bothering people so much is that they get this humongous allowance
mm,
and don't even do the we're not even doing the bare minimum. I was about to say do the bare
mm,
minimum, but we're not even doing the
mm,
bare minimum at this point. So I would just say cut a deal with the government, get whatever money property you want, give a whole load of it back,
mm.
and
But,
just live quiet, just quiet aristo people's lives. Stop taking such a big amount of money from the public coffers, and just let all of this pomp and pageant, just let it go. I mean, the other royal families, they've scaled down a lot. Most of them are, moving into more normal roles, normal jobs, especially the young ones. They're all going to school. I don't think that I don't think we've even touched on this, but George, Louis, Charlotte, I don't think that the next generation of royal children should be made to do royal duties. I think they need to be told, you know what, you're going to get a small inheritance, and then you have to go to school and just get normal jobs.
mm, I do agree with you that that should happen, but I don't think that will happen. You see, because you can see that they value continuity. And what normally happens, the heir needs a spare, and the spare needs to be the scapegoat for the heir. They always need a scapegoat. So they value that continuity. That's why even you can see, even for William is trying to protect his kids because by saying that, but you can see those headlines from the UK media saying that UK media want Archie and Lilibet to be scapegoats for William and Kate's kids. So
Mm,
so it is sad to see that, but that's what they're trying to achieve, because I've seen the headlines, I've seen what they're trying to do. Even last year, when Meghan posted a picture of, when Harry and Meghan posted that picture of that holiday card that they had,
yeah,
immediately that they posted that. Even if you can't see a picture of Archie's face or Lily's face, you can see that already. Daily Mail pit Archie versus Lewis, and they pit
yeah.
Lilibet versus Charlotte. That's how they are, and they have no interest in changing, their ways. And also, I don't believe that you can even think that King Charles and William were making money from charities, as Channel 4 revealed. I don't think they will ever say we'll take less money. King Charles is getting a more than 40 million pound pay raise. So is someone who I don't
Mm.
think will ever say I'll take less money. I don't believe that for a second. Even even if
And
that's what the public would want, but
yeah.
but they on the other hand will say no, no, no. We are doing a lot. We're doing so much work. So, we'll take more money from you, but not less money. That's how they'll behave. But they're never gonna say we're gonna take less money. No, they're not gonna do that.
I mean, the question that I have is, where does the money even go? And I feel like there is such a lack of true transparency about
Mm,
where their money comes from, how it gets spent. Because, okay,
mm,
so we've got the sovereign grant, which is
mm,
meant to be for their so-called duties, but they're doing less work than they ever did. So we're giving them
mm,
100 million plus whatever it is that the British taxpayer gives
mm,
them. You mean to tell me all of that money goes towards what, them showing up, and in the last, what, 2 months and a half, William
mm,
has done less than 3 to 4 days work. You mean to tell me that's what we're spending over 100 million on? And then they get money from the duchy, which I guess is their private wealth. Where is that money going? They don't need full castles full of stuff. Even very, very wealthy people don't have, you know, they don't all have full mansions full of
mm,
stuff all the
mm,
time. maybe they have staff come in and, help with the maintenance and stuff, but they don't all have, masses of staff all the time. So why aren't we demanding that they cut the staff, and why aren't we demanding that we just know where the money is going? Like, what are they spending it on?
I feel like they're just raising their net worths, just increasing the money that they have in their bank accounts. And for William is finding ways to increase the revenue from the Duchy of Cornwall. I believe for also for himself and also for his son in
Mm,
the future, who's also going to be in control of that Duchy of Cornwall, his son. So when it comes to how they are, how William and Charles are. These people will always want more money. They're always going to want
yeah.
more money. The rich will keep on getting, way more richer. That's just how it's going to be, and that's how it's always going to be. And for William and Charles, they are never going to turn down an extra paycheck. William gets more than 20
Mm,
million pounds a year from the Duchy of Cornwall. He still will never ever turn it down. He's building rental housing while saying that he wants to end homelessness. He's doing business, not ending homelessness. It's simply doing business.
yeah.
But you can see when the PR that is in place for the media to cover for him and to protect him. He's stockpiling money. They're just stockpiling money. That's what William is doing. As Benjamin Padilla here, I can see saying William is stockpiling the
Stockpiling
money. That's
money.
what Charles also is doing, the same thing. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Mm.
it's so
And
true.
also one more thing I remembered. I recall the words of Paul Burrell. The ex
Butler.
butler of Diana. He said about Charles that Charles, he called him to come to his office to pick up some I don't know if it's a pen or a letter that had fallen into a in down. Charles couldn't bend down to pick it up. So he said that Charles
Ah,
doesn't have the capacity to do anything on his own. He
oh,
needs people to
wow.
do it. He needs people to do it, to do everything, for him. So that's how it will always be in the royal family. Whereby for
Mm,
Charles, for example, he doesn't have the capacity to do anything on his own. That's why he needs lots and lots of staff to do everything for him. He doesn't know how to do things on his own. He just really doesn't. He doesn't know. You know?
my goodness. I just saw this comment from Leslie. He said, "Anne, do you think Charles will dissolve the royal family before he goes?" What do you think that? No, I don't think that's something that Charles would do. I think Charles was wise in wanting to slim down the monarchy, as he put it. The problem is, I think what they've done is they couldn't be more slim and lazy in terms of the work that they do, and it's not like they ever really worked anyway. It was work with a small w. But if you're saying that you're slimming down the monarchy, well, it has to, the amount that we're spending also has to be slimmed down, and we see that that hasn't happened yet. But in terms of, dismembering the monarchy, abolishing the monarchy, no, no, I don't even see that happening in our lifetime. I think at best, eventually, government is going to have to get a hand on their spending, and that will likely just because likely come because the public is just fed up. I think that's probably the most that we'll ever see. But outside of that, I think we'll always have, or the UK will always have a monarchy. I think the Commonwealth, if one of the big three leave, the big three being Canada, Australia, or New Zealand leave, then maybe you might start to see a, dismantling of the monarchy. But otherwise, I think the British royal family will always have some kind of presence. I think it would have been a lot better for them if they had taken a leaf out of, the royal families in mainland Europe, that have been that humbled themselves, and they're still at least tolerated by the countries where they are. But this British royal family, I think they've held on to the pomp and pageantry for so long. People have a lot more animosity towards them. Brian, did you want to say anything about that?
You see, when you talk about leaving the Commonwealth, these countries leave the Commonwealth, for example, when if Charles passes away, things like that. What I can say about that is that look at the kind of manipulation which happens when a monarch, for example, passes on. Well, what happened to the Queen, for example? You heard from the UK media, in the Rota, that is the PR arm of the royal family. You heard what they were saying. They were saying that now is not a good time to talk about leaving the Commonwealth, not a
Yeah.
good time to leave. I mean, right now the royal family are in mourning. This is not the time of that conversation. You know, you need to keep the
Yeah.
monarchy. So you've seen the PRM of the royal family, how it operates. So when a
Mm.
monarch passes on, you can even see that there's that sympathy that comes in, and then also plus the UK media, how they manipulate their what they normally say. You know, now is in the time to talk about leaving the Commonwealth. You know, you are needed here. You know, Charles, just passed on. William is now king. You know, give it some time. You know, and then you say give it some time. It never really happens. That's the kind of propaganda which tends to happen over and over again, each and every single time
But
with
do
the
you
Queen.
but
It's
do you
happened.
think that do you think that manipulation would I get what you're saying, but sometimes I feel that a lot of that manipulation is them towards um black and brown countries, basically. I think if
Yes.
it was Canada or New Zealand or Australia that were like, yeah, no, we're done, that they may
Mm,
try that angle, but I don't think it would work. I don't think they can bully those countries in the way that they can
mm,
bully some of the African countries, and countries in the
mm.
Caribbean, the islands.
I do agree with you, but also they do have a huge say. They have a very very huge say in Canada, in Australia, in New Zealand. They have a very very huge say. For example, even let me just use one example. You know, the Nigerian Chief of Defense Forces wasn't allowed to
Mm.
come to the Invictus Games in Vancouver. I've been thinking, how is it possible that the head of the military was denied a visa to come
Oh,
to to come to to come to to come to Vancouver for the Invictus Games? How is it even
that's
possible?
interesting. I
And
didn't know about that.
uh, how is it even possible? Yeah, he was denied a visa. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa, was denied a visa to come to Vancouver. There was even some complaints about it. And the only thing that I could think of is because he invited Harry Meghan to Nigeria, and you saw that reception that they received in Nigeria. And the royal family were angry about it, in my opinion, and they made some phone calls and say, "Don't allow this guy to
Mm,
come here," because also when Harry Meghan were in Nigeria, they were protected by the army. And what have we learned from Prince Harry? Harry said himself that members of the royal family have contacted foreign governments and told them, "Don't give Harry and Meghan security."
protection,
What
yeah.
happened? Colombia gave them security. Nigeria gave them security. And you've seen the kind of complaints that UK media have had because of them being given security. You've seen the complaints. You see how angry they've been, and I feel like that denying the chief of defense forces, a visa to come to Canada, that to
Mm,
me showed me the kind of power and huge sway that the royal family have even in Canada.
in other
They have
countries, yeah.
a huge say, because you can deny someone like me maybe a visa, but the head of the
Mm,
army saying no to him, someone who hasn't been accused of any crime, and you're saying no to him
mm,
not to come to your country, not to attend the Invictus Games, and he's coming for that to come and support Harry at the Invictus Games and support Team Nigeria, and you're turning him down. The only way it happens is if someone in the royal family wasn't happy about Harry and Meghan being invited to Nigeria,
and
and
they
that's
made a
the only
phone
way.
call.
And they made a phone call. That shows you the huge say that they have in Canada and these other countries, which of course Charles is the head of state, and very very soon also William will be the head of state. That shows you the huge sway. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for bringing that up. I'd actually missed that, and you're right. It does honestly say a lot, and now it has me once again, thinking
Mm.
about, gosh, what on earth are we in for when
Yes,
Invictus comes to the UK?
Birmingham, yeah.
Um, mm. Well, we always pray for the best. Harry and Meghan have gotten through a lot, and they continue to come out on top every single time, and they're just going from strength to strength. So we just, continue to pray that over them. I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined the podcast today. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your donations. Thank you so much to Brian. It has been lovely having you on. We should definitely do this again sometime. Definitely make sure to go and subscribe to Sussex Squad Family TV, everyone. I think, Brian, I think you're at 16,000 now, right?
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
no,
Yeah.
no, appreciate you so much. Appreciate your input, and we appreciate the work that you do in this community. And may your space and channel continue to grow. All right,
Thank you very much.
folks. We've talked for quite a bit, and I was gonna have call-ins, but I need to give my voice a little bit of a rest because I am gonna do another podcast later on today to talk about the news of the last 24 hours. So maybe I'll do some call-ins then, but I appreciate you all. I'll just post Brian's link in the chat again so you can go and subscribe. And yeah, I will catch you for the next podcast later on. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. See you later. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. Mhm.